Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, and I'm groggy. What an event last night was. If you were there, I'm sure you had a great time. I had a great time. I got to meet so many of you. It was an absolute blast. Really, it was. It went a lot better than I thought it would, and I got a little piece of news for you. Because last night went so incredibly well, I believe we're going to do the same thing next year, kind of like a Greg Mannarino fan appreciation day. Of course, it will be free again, and I just want you to show up. So I will keep you all on top of that. Again, we have an entire year to talk about it, but I got to do it again. I mean, this was great, and all of you are amazing to me. Really, truly amazing to me. And like I said, it was a real thrill to meet you. George Gammon showed up. And George Gammon gave me this. George, dude, absolutely. We got to do something about this organization. Public enemy number one. Forget about the freak show. This organization, I mean, it's a crime syndicate. And what they're doing right now, not just to the United States people, but to the world, is a literal crime in progress. And if you think you've seen anything yet, I want to cover a lot of stuff with you. You haven't seen anything yet. So we must keep ourselves on the right side of the situation here and come up with what their grand plan is. I'm eating a piece of candy here. Anyway, that's the story. So let's talk. I want you to pay attention to what's happening now in the market. We're getting record high, while at the same time we're seeing a rally in the bond market. Okay, we're also watching the yield curve flatten out. Cash is making its way into the debt market. Generally, when you see this, it's not a good sign for the economy. And again, our economy, we're going nowhere. All we're doing, all the Fed is doing, is hyperinflating the debt by design, and nobody, no member of Congress or any kind of official organization wants to do anything about it. They just want to allow the Fed to keep doing what they're doing here. And look at the effect. Okay, this morning I'm watching Bloomberg this morning. Okay, like I always do, Bloomberg, CNBC, and they are raising the specter of rising food prices. People, again, if you follow this blog, you know this to be true. We today are seeing inflation rise at its fastest pace ever. So this morning, right on Bloomberg, they're doing what you and I obviously knew they were going to do. They're pointing at the rising price of energy, and now they're pointing at the drought. Okay, so it's twofold here. Oh, no. It's not the freak show Federal Reserve. It's the rising cost of energy, duh. All right, I told all of you that this is exactly what they would do. They are going to try desperately to hide the rising cost of everything, rising inflation in energy. Now they got another scapegoat here. It's the drought too. They can't allow you or anybody to understand that it's this place. It's the Federal Reserve deliberately. They are deliberately doing this, people. Look, I'm starting to come apart already. But this organization, I mean, they are the most powerful organization on the planet. You can't fight the Fed. In no way, shape, or form, there's not enough. There's not enough opposition to it. Okay? The market is drunk on easy money. You all know that. And that mechanism is doing several things. Again, it's hyperinflating this debt bubble like we've never seen before in the history of the world. It's hyperinflating inflation. I mean, I believe sincerely we are probably very close or on the threshold of an inflationary shock moment. Seriously, it's not going to stop. When you have, again, you all know this, okay, an organization here with the world reserve currency that is issuing unbelievable amounts of debt through one door and then buying it through another door. This mechanism is deliberately creating inflation. No one wants to talk about it. None of our, I'm going to be nice today. No, I'm not. Our retard freaking Congress people want to do anything about it. They just sitting back here and watching not just the United States but the world, get taken over by these organizations. And this issue with food hyperinflation, that's really what we're seeing right now. This is a global phenomenon. People, I have told all of you and warned all of you for years that this is a collective, collaborative effort by central banks around the world. They're doing the same things at the same time. And they're literally buying it all. They're literally buying it all. Let's look back at the debt market real quick, like I alluded to earlier. We're watching that 10-year yield drop, okay? At the same time, we got a stock market that's going parabolic, record high, record high, record high. In an economy that's going nowhere. Our debt to GDP ratio, people, it's a hyper bubble. It's a hyper bubble, and it's going to get much, much worse. Like I said recently, I've been explaining to you, our debt to GDP ratio here in the United States is 130%. Okay, it's nothing. Nothing compared to what's coming down the pike here. So they're trying to explain to us, these mainstream channels, oh, we're doing great. Our economy is so strong, but why aren't they mentioning the fact that our debt to GDP ratio, our debts and deficits are ballooning? We're not growing. We are contracting. It's an incredible thing. They're trying to convince us again that what we are seeing with our own eyes is not real. And that drives me crazy. You all know that. Anyway, I was just jotting down a bunch of stuff today. And that's kind of funny. The first thing that popped into my head, and I wrote it right at the top of my little piece of paper here. I see that end game. Look at that. End game. This is the Federal Reserve. You have to understand, they're in their final stages right now, along with central banks around the world, to inflate. I've told all of you for years, that their goal is to continue to inflate on an epic scale. And that's exactly what they're doing. I also explained to you that the higher or the larger the central banks or the Federal Reserve's balance sheet gets, and we're over almost $8.2 trillion, and we haven't seen anything yet. The higher, the greater, the larger the Federal Reserve's balance sheet gets, the more powerful they become. Okay, they are a debt creation machine on an unprecedented scale, and they want to own it all. And they're doing this, again, with central banks around the world in concert. They are working together to bring the world and its people to its freaking knees, okay? To create a world of debt slaves, nation debt slaves, individual debt slaves. It's an incredible thing. And like I said, the only people that want to do something about it is you and me. That's it. And unfortunately, well, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, okay, you and me need to take advantage of the situation. That's all we got to do, because you can sit there and do nothing, again, and complain about food prices and energy going to the moon, crude oil now over $75 a barrel, going much higher, debt to GDP ratios ballooning, and all of this stuff. But yeah, it's all well and good. But unless we act, unless we do something, no one's going to help us. You have to understand that. It's you and me. Okay, you and me, period, the end. And I've been working as hard as I possibly can to keep you on the right side of it. Am I right all the time? Absolutely not. Am I right most of the time? I would have to say yeah. And I think those of you that follow my work here would have to agree on that too. But again here, the end game, okay, just like I wrote here, right at the top, all right, and I put those little stars next to it. The end game of central banks is to hyperinflate, okay? Hyperinflate their balance sheet, allow distortions across the entire spectrum of asset classes to get much, much worse here. And if that means that they have to create an inflationary shock, that's what they're going to do. Because we're in it now. You have to understand, we're watching inflation rise at its fastest pace ever. Okay, but we're being told we're doing so great. They don't want to tell you the truth. That we, as a percentage of GDP, our economy is cratering. We are collapsing. You're not supposed to know that. You're supposed to think that everything is just totally great. And we're watching the middle class get erased. All the things that I've been speaking about for the longest time are happening. And it blows my mind sometimes when I sit back and I watch some of my old videos, or I think about stuff I said and say, wow, this is really going on here. So again, look, all the stuff I just covered here, debt to GDP ratio, hyperballooning, debts and deficits, they're not going to stop until it does. And that's really the key here. What's the end? The end game of the Fed is to hyperinflate everything, cause distortions to get out of control with regard to the entire spectrum of asset classes. At one point, to pull the plug. That's really what they're going to do at one point. When the Fed literally stops inflating their balance sheet, and they're way, way, way off of it. I mean, we're talking years. I think we all know that. We're going to get a moment of reckoning that is going to be absolutely epic. And who's going to lose? The people are. The people that are on the wrong side of it are going to lose. Anyway, I told you about the yield curve flattening, easy money here. It's an incredible thing to witness this moment in time. So what does it mean for you and me looking forward here, people? Again, I'm keeping you in all the right spots. With regard to this market, you got to stay long. You got to stay long this market. Period. You know, a lot of people last night came over to me and were asking me about miners and about certain other assets that I don't own. I never talk about assets that I don't own. I don't own miners right now. Do I think it's probably a good play? Yeah, I think so. But I don't own it. And in order for me to come out here and talk about where I see value, I have to do my own research. I don't want to take anybody's word for anything, especially, you know, I have a pretty big following. And it's important to me to keep it real, to, you know, say, hey, this is what I am doing. So maybe it's something you should think about too. So that's why I don't talk about a lot of things that you people ask me about, like maybe a particular cryptocurrency that I am not in, or again, going back to miners or whatever it might be. I only talk about things that I'm in, that I am doing, that I own. All right. The rest of it, I really don't care too much about it. You know what I mean? There's just so much you can do. You understand? But in aggregate, we're killing it. You and me are absolutely killing it. People, we understand the situation. The end game here is for the central banks to inflate on an unbelievable scale. We haven't seen anything yet, and it's not going to stop for a long time. That means that we take advantage of this hyper bubble environment. I mean, we have bubbles in this environment that are out of control to the upside and out of control to the downside. We have assets like physical gold, physical silver, and yes, cryptocurrencies that in my view today are unbelievably undervalued in this environment of hyper debt. And again, you know, with regard to cryptos, to me, these are assets that people should hold in their portfolio. I'm not saying you're going to go all in on any one asset. No one should ever do that. Okay, you need to be diversified in a bunch of things. But you need to have this as part of your long-term portfolio, understanding the environment you're in. And that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to enlighten all of you as to what's going on, why it's happening, which is even more important. Okay, this is what's going on. This is why. It's the end game of these institutions, these central banks that are determined to hyperinflate and determined to own it all. And no one wants to do a darn thing about it, okay, except you and me. We want to change. And George Gammon, okay, wanted to end the Fed. You know, come on. Absolutely. Anyway, kind of a long video, people. Covered a lot of important stuff here. And we got to get back into the groove here. You know, the market's closed today. So this is, again, my market's a look ahead. And again, people, again, last night, unbelievable. What a night. It was such a thrill to me. For me to meet so many of you. Blast. And we're going to do it again next year. That's a guarantee. And I'm going to give you a lot longer heads up. Probably in the same venue. For those of you that were there last night, please comment here. Did you have a good time? What did you think of the venue? Anyway, I'm going to let you all go. And people, like I said last night when I was on the stage, and I mean this, I love all of you. We are a family, we are a team, and we got to come together, because if we don't do it, who will? You know what I'm saying? You know, there's a natural selection process going on right now. Most people walk around through time and space. They don't know who they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it. They're like zombies. They're absolutely like zombies. They become like hollowed out kind of like entities just moving through time and space without any real purpose. You know, and for me and you, I believe it's a totally different thing. And we need to come together. We need to get more people together on the same page. That's the only way we can really do anything. And even with that, we're not going to get through to everyone. You know that. Anyway, that's it, people. I'm going to kind of shut up because it's getting kind of long here. But look, love you a lot. Please share the video. We're going to have a big party again next year. And I'll see you all in the morning.